at one of the two major methods of research, which are called qualitative methods. And qualitative methods are methods that do not look for cause and effect. They're methods that don't really prove anything. They're methods that are really methods of discovery and exploration and seeking understanding. There's some important words that go along with this. One is Verstehen, which is German for interpretation. So what we do in qualitative research is we look for interpretations. We look for interpretations through the symbolic interactions or the meanings that the people in a setting give to the phenomena that are occurring in the setting. So this is a very subjective view of subjective worlds. The last big term to know is phenomenology. And phenomenology refers to the idea that what is real in the world is really what's socially constructed by individuals who participate in a particular social setting. An example I often give of this is how many minutes are there in an hour? 60. But do some hours seem longer than other hours? Yes. That's phenomenology. Understanding what's going on in the minds of the people experiencing it. How do I turn this off? Stop. When we start to talk about qualitative method, I want to discuss three big ideas: design, sampling, and data collection. To understand designs, we really have to understand data collection. And under data collection, there are three different forms of data. As you can see, there are interviews, analysis of documents or artifacts or objects, and observations. Now, when we look at designs, we'll notice that the designs use one, two, or all of these data collection methods. One kind of design uses multi-methods. That means that they use at least two of the data collection methods. And there are two kinds of multi-method design. One is an ethnography. An ethnography usually uses all three. An ethnography posits the researcher inside the social setting, and through a process of participant observation, that is being part of the setting, the researcher tries to understand what is going on. The article that you read, that one of the groups is reading on teens and zine magazines, is in fact an ethnography, where the researcher basically imposes herself upon a small group of adolescent girls and tries to understand how those girls use teen magazines. Case studies tend to be more retrospective in nature, but they also draw on several data sources. An example of this is what the other group is reading, which is the response to a gunman. This is a retrospective study to try to understand what happened when there was a scare of a gunman on campus. And again, you'll see that in that study, they used interviews, they looked at documents and artifacts, and they did not do observations because they were not present at the time. The other kinds of designs are single method designs. One of those methods is a narrative or interview design, where people just interview respondents. I've done quite a few of those designs. The second kind is a design where you just look at context or artifacts. Again, I've done a study looking at high school courses of study, trying to figure out what these courses require of students and which students they're trying to attract. And the third kind of separate study is an observation study. And an observation study is merely watching people in action. One of the famous studies is by William White, who just observed people in front of the steps of the New York Free Library and developed a whole series of hypotheses about what was going on. So we have designs based on data collection and also based on intention. Third concept I want to talk about is sampling. And there are two important ideas to know about sampling. Sampling means who are the subjects whom you're studying. In qualitative studies, sample sizes tend to be small. It can be one person, two people, a small group. And in qualitative sampling, the subjects tend to kind of follow what I call a breadcrumb trail. It's called a purposive sample. I'm trying to find who will give me the best information. For instance, going back to the ethnography, The researcher there finds the girls who are really the queens. That becomes her purposive study. She doesn't study everybody, but just those few people whom she thinks will do the most to push the study forward. So here is everything in final form. The qualitative method's big ideas is the idea of restraint or interpretation. We build theory from the ground up. Symbolic interactionism is a way to understand how people use symbols to understand their social environment, and phenomenology being the really big idea of how this method is constructed. And later on in the course, we will talk about how that's different from what we call positivism. And then there are the methods. There are designs, data collection, and data analysis. We went through the designs. We talked about the kinds of data collection. We talked about the kinds of data analysis. And we talked about how you evaluate qualitative studies. All of this is in the reading. All of this are in the exemplars that you'll see. And all of this is basically what you have to understand about qualitative research. Is the big picture of what qualitative methodology is about.